Well, here we go again. Gosh darn it, there's a certain clog in my ear, so when I make noises a certain way, it vibrates in this fashion. I can only hope to never, ever be part of, to ever use the word mainstream after I just said it right there. All I ever wanted to be was weird. And I spent so much time denying that, which led me to a lot of disgustingly boring places. But we're back, baby. Oh, we're back. See, I'm just not a day over fabulous. I'm just not a day over fabulous. Just out of fantastic. I'm really good at this. I'm really good at that. I live to, it is a full spectrum of bitch. Oh, well. And then I start thinking, like, what? Right? And then all of a sudden, you're like, hey, there's really nothing there sometimes, other than not spilling the coffee. I don't even really try and keep my eyes on the road. I mean, I take been taking the same fucking road for going on 15 years now. At least several times a week. Riding that train. High on male genitalia. But that's really not any, that's neither here nor there. I mean, let me tell you, I do. I always want to, like, go to, like, I wish I could just, I really want to, and except, well, anyways, regardless, I'm just writing the story. Just writing the story of now. And guess what? You're part of it. You're part of the story right now. If you didn't know, now you do. I always liked this guy I used to follow. He put something so good out there, and it's always like hit me. Like, you see a lot of stuff out there, especially in this age of social media content creation. You see a lot of stuff where, like, it's someone who is just, like, has just an immaculate body, and they're, like, wearing, you know, $300 worth of fitness apparel, and they're doing, like, exercises or yoga or something as well as they could possibly, most humans could possibly do it. That is just, like, it's such a depraved, boring thing to, like, view that. Like, when you're viewing that, it's like, no one gives a fuck about how great you look, how great your yoga pose is, and how much money you spent on your yoga pants. What people are more interested in is sorry, I got totally distracted by the birds flying overhead. But what's more interesting is, like, I feel like if you're sitting there and you're watching someone trying to untangle their shoelaces, that was what he said. Like, people would much rather watch someone untangle their shoelaces than watch you do a fucking yoga pose perfectly. And it's very interesting because, like, I find myself often judging how I and I like and I pause and I stumble. I judge myself. I all that shit. What? I just want to get the words out of my face, and it's just all that stuff all the time. And I'm like, well, I shouldn't even bother talking because I'm just like, maybe a small percentage of what I'm saying, I happen to be stumbling, so to say. I happen to be pausing or wasting. Well, that's another part of it. It's like, oh, I must be, like, wasting whose ever time that maybe is listening or, like, is pretending to listen, because I mean, you could listen, I guess, but, like, to hear. People don't hear things. They just listen. Maybe they hear things and don't listen. One or the other. But, holy shit, what happened? There's just fucking paper everywhere. Yeah, but I think of it like, you know, that idea of the shoelaces. It's like, we kind of want to, we kind of root for the imbecile to, like, succeed. You know, like, there's so many of these videos where, like, you see, like, the failed attempts, and, like, once you see a failed attempt at anything, like, once or twice, you're like, oh, just do it, you got it, like, I want you to do the thing that you're trying to do. Especially with stories, too. Like, it'd be great to, you know some stories. Like, I'll tell you a story. It's about a guy who, had a bit of a hard time. His name was HD. I'm just gonna say it as it is, right? It's Humpty Dumpty. This guy, HD, call him for short. He sat on a wall. Right? And you're kind of wondering, like, what is this guy doing sitting on a wall? Like, where do you even get a wall? How do you even sit on a wall? Like, is it even a wall at that point, or is it like a ledge, or is it like a barricade or a divider? What kind of wall do you sit on? Do they even have walls anymore? Maybe this story was so old that, like, back in the day when there used to be a lot of walls around, people would sit on them, but I don't see as many walls for sitting anymore. But regardless, this guy, HD, sat on a wall, and must have been of a pretty decent height of a wall. You know, like, it was several centimeters off the ground, at least. maybe even feet. And you know what happened when he was up on that wall? He had a great fall. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, and Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. And then here, this hasn't aged well, because the next thing that happened was that, like, the king was alerted. You know, this guy, he must have been a pretty important dude for the king to come and gather up all his horses, and all of his men. I guess the king didn't have any women working for him or any non-binary people, but regardless, that's what, you know, showing the age of the story. Humpty Dumpty, after he had a great fall, which you can imagine, he was on the ground. They alerted the king, and he got all his forces and all his men. And none of them must have been any good at doing much of anything, except for just getting to places, because they couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again. My boy HD was in pieces. And that's it. That's the whole story. And really the moral story is, yeah, I don't think that story has a moral.